this presentation will be recorded for those who could not attend, um, and hopefully that is okay for most of you. And also, I will be asking questions
Hi.
the way.
What's up?
What's up?
Hello. Okay, so I will be asking questions along the way. You can answer through the audio or also through the chat itself if you feel more comfortable that way. So do you see the presentation right now by any chance?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, perfect. So again, so this presentation will go based on the current situation of how the coronavirus is affecting our communities, and how that is affecting our way of life and how we can go by that into converting into this new life. So we're gonna have a little overview. So I will have an introduction, a little bit about myself, and then the current situation, what's going on in the world. After that, we'll talk based on who Nancy K. Schlossberg is and how and why is she relevant, also with her transition theory. And then we will have a summary at the end how we can use this theory to be implemented in our lives. So introduction, my name is Andres Sandoval. I am a third-year psychology major, and I also work for the LINK program as a LINK leader. So what are some coronavirus updates? What is going on within our community? We know that there are, as of April 7th, there are 16.9 thousand positive cases. In California, we also know about the whole stock market crashing because investors were worried how the coronavirus will be affecting the markets. We also know about the reminder from a state public health officer. An order was given to stay home except to go for essential needs such as groceries and to follow the procedures and guidelines for social distancing and hygiene, such as washing your hands. So what is going on within our university? So we all know that we are transitioning virtually for spring quarter starting this week. Classes and on-campus resources have gone fully online as well. So who is Nancy K. Schlossberg? So Schlossberg, she has spent most of her time as a professor in counseling psychology. She's taught at Howard University, Wayne State University of Maryland, and College Park. She has written 9 books relating to transition, and her last 2 books were about retirement. She also came up with the Schlossberg transition theory, and her overall mission is just to help others during a transition phase in their life. So we will go more into depth of what the theory is and their origins. So it began around the civil rights movement. During this time, her husband was a labor lawyer, and she had a difficult time transitioning to what was going on because of the civil rights time. And that served as a foundation of her theory. So her first study involved 600 male undergraduate students over the age of 35 years old from Wayne University. She wanted to better understand how adults transitioned better to college. And from there, she wanted to build a framework in order to help adults in need to cope with transitionings in their lives. And from her transition, she has gone under numerous studies relating to her transition theory, such as couples moving to a different geographic location and how it can impact them positively, negatively, and how they can transition better. So what is the Schlossberg transition theory? So the theory itself is when an event or non-event that is resulting of our relationships, routines, and assumptions and roles that are changing. There are 3 types of transitions. The first one is anticipated transition, which is something that we can anticipate, such as graduation, like we know a set time and date. The next type of transition is unanticipated, something that we did not expect, such as not knowing how of an impact this coronavirus will do in our society, and something non-event as well, such as you applying for medical school and you're not getting in. So there are 4 major factors within the theory. The first one is situation. What is going on? The second aspect would have to be self. How is the situation affecting your life? And from there, what are some support systems you can utilize to transition better? And from there, lastly, what are some strategies you can take in order to smoothen the process? So what I want to do is kind of like, for this theory and the different major factors, how can we apply to that to the current situation that we're going through, such as, converting virtually? So in the situation that we're going through right now is the whole coronavirus incident. So before I get more into depth about our situation now, we'll go a little bit more into depth what situation is and what to consider. There are 8 aspects in situation. The first one is trigger. So kind of adjusting and realizing what is causing the situation to happen, what is firing it up. The other aspect would have to be timing. Is it something that we anticipated? Is it something that we were prepared to do, or is it something that just came out of the blue? The next one would have to be control. Is the whole situation in our control or out of our control? So something that it is out of our control is a whole implementation of social distancing, because that was implemented by our state and government. However, what is in control is being isolated at home. What are some things that we can adjust to be more productive? Also, the next aspect would have to be role changes. Are there any different changes that you taking, knowing that you're at home longer? Like, let's say an example would have to be, let's say you have a family member who lost a job or is on break in order to reduce the spread of the virus, and fortunately you're the only one that can provide that financial support in order to support the family. The next aspect would have to be duration. Do you know how long this is going to take? Is this going to be a permanent transition, whether it's going to change society as a whole, or is it something temporarily? Maybe it's something we're just adjusting for right now, maybe something seasonal, or is it something that is just unpredicted, that we just don't know how long this might last? The next aspect would have to be, do we have any previous experience? Do we have an experience whether we've been part of a pandemic, and how these experiences affect how we transition into the current situation? The next aspect would have to be, are there any concurrent stresses? Are there anything else that's bothering you in your life that may affect your transition, and in order to accommodate with it? And the last aspect to consider in situation is assessment. So it's looking at it as overall to see who was responsible for this and go by from there. So for you all, what are some difficult transitions you have experienced so far, if anyone would like to share out?
I would say it's probably just being by myself a lot more, like at home, like not seeing friends, not being with all my loved ones that I want to be with.
Yeah.
I think that's like probably the thing that's difficult for me to do, because I'm very social when it comes to like just my time.
Mm-hmm.
So just being by myself for the most part all the time it's kind of driving me a little bit crazy.
Maybe anyone else would like to share out through the audio, or even through the chat? It can be something now or something in the past that you have been through.
I would agree with Emmanuel. I think not being able to fully be physically with someone, talking to them, like instead of like going to meetings, or even just being able to like hug. I think that's something I didn't think it was gonna have such an impact in me that I can't do it. I shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Someone from the chat actually said that just doing online classes by themselves is really difficult too, and I would have to agree with that. I'm not a fan of it either, but because it is out of our control, it was implemented by our university to do online classes to prevent the spread. There's something out of our control, but what is in our control is how we adjust to it. Like, how can we better our transition? What are some study habits that we can implement in order to not fall behind, right? And so what is our current situation? Right now, we already know we have a growing number in the United States. Unfortunately, we are like the highest one as of now as a country. We know of people affected by the virus. As I mentioned before, the whole social distancing and us going virtually for classes. There's external struggles that can impact us, but we also have to consider internal struggles as well that can affect our individuality. So what is the situation for college students right now, or us CSUSB students? Most students who were dorming had to go back home. Classes have gone virtually online. On-campus resources have also gone fully online, and work may have gone online for some, such as myself, or it can be potential that some do not have a job or on break because of the virus. So what does this all mean? It can affect our mental and physical health. There can be a change in roles, such as, for example, me, like both of my parents work, but as of right now, my mom is on break, because her boss said, in order to prevent the spread. And so right now it's only me and my father who are working. And so, now I'm taking a more responsible aspect at my house and providing that financial need. That's an example of a role change in my household. And also this whole online conversion, not a lot of us are a big fan of it, but that's something we have to accommodate with and adjust to. And so because of the current situation of the coronavirus and how it's affecting our communities, it can also affect ourselves. And that is the next factor in the transition theory, according to Schlossberg. So there's two aspects within the self. There's the personal and demographic characteristics, whether, due to our social economic status and how that can impact the way we live and how we conform to this transition, whether our gender has a role in it, age and stage of life. Maybe we have a family member who's over the age of 60, 65, or a child who's an infant, and we're scared for their immunity, knowing that because of this virus, it can affect them in a negative way, and we're worried for them. Or even ourselves, maybe we have some sort of health problem that we, are just worried on contracting this virus. Another great thing to consider is also ethnicity and culture, whether that plays a major role in knowing that you're staying at home, and whether that's going to help you in positively or negatively in your development through this process. So psychosocial resources as well is another thing to consider in oneself, how you develop in your ego, looking everything as a whole, whether your commitments and values will be affected by the situation, and whether you are living through a spiritual life and how resilient you can be from that. So because of the current situation of the coronavirus, what are some changes that you've experienced so far within yourself or as a whole? If anyone would like to share out.
I feel like the days just go by super fast now. I can't even keep track of what day it is.
Anyone else?
I feel like I'm more tired since we're doing everything at home, because your whole life revolves around being inside all day. So you don't get to walk around and do other things. So it feels like I'm constantly tired.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like for me, I feel like I've been taking more naps than I usually should. And I feel like just because I'm not as productive as I used to be when I was on campus, knowing that I always go from place to place, and now I'm at home, it's really what can I do, And for example, me personally, I felt more isolated, and I've seen it through my friends as well. When they would text me, they'd say, oh my gosh, I hate this whole transition. I hate being indoors. And, but they understand why the whole social distancing is in place, and he understands that. And another example would have to be my brother, who last week just received an email from his high school. He's a senior too, saying how the whole academic year has just been canceled. And, he's sad knowing that maybe this will affect his graduation status, and, whether he's going to have that same ceremony, or, looking at how he feels and all bummed out, it can be something that can be relatable, especially for a lot of college students who are also going to graduate towards the end of this academic school year. And another person mentioned in the group chat that they've learned to slow down and appreciate the time to have with their family, and taking the time to better themselves and read more, and trying to get things done around the house that they never had time to do. That's a really good approach, especially knowing, for example, if you do feel unfulfilled because, you're so limited in doing certain things in your life, try to adjust to it with some sort of strategies. And again, another person mentioned how, they try new activities such as reading to keep themselves active and occupied. And I'll go more into depth of like different strategies that one can utilize, but these are really great ideas that one can utilize in their lives to, go by their days in quarantine. So knowing how, the whole current situation with the coronavirus and how it's affecting ourselves, what are some support systems that we can utilize in our lives to better this transition? And like this is the third aspect in Schlossberg's transition theory. So there's two types of supports that I would like to go more deep into. The first one is relationships. Whether you have a significant other, making sure you have a stable and healthy relationship, and whether, they can provide us some sort of source of, comfort and coping mechanisms to, better this process. Another great relationship would have to be, the friends, the people you surround yourself with. Yeah, it sucks that you can't be there one-to-one conversations. However, there are other ways that you can still communicate with them, such as for myself, like I really do enjoy gaming, and usually I talk to my best friends too there, and we just have conversations while playing. And that's a really good way to like, accommodate to the situation. And also the last thing would have to be family members, maybe such as what one of the persons said in the group chat, how they try to appreciate their time more with their family. And, this can serve as a good opportunity to still be engaged and find ways to not just your family helping you, but how you can help and support your family. And the next thing that I would like to mention that would be really essential for us college students would have to be the different institutions and communities that can be vital as support systems through this online transition for spring quarter. Great types of support would have to be your advisors. If there's something that you're not sure about, like the current situation, your advisors can provide you that information or any updates. Whether you're part of clubs or organizations, whether it's Greek Life or some sort of organization on campus, and how they can provide that support to you as well. And also the most important one is just the resources we have on campus and how they can provide that support as well. So one thing that I would like to mention is the Career Center and what they will do. They will still be presenting virtually via online and through phone. They will still go through the same procedure of appointments. You can still do the internships and job search, academic major and career exploration, graduate school preparation, and career professional development. And so basically you just go on your handshake, you go to the Career Center tab, and then from there, you will go to where the appointments are. There's also resources that you can utilize there. So from appointments, you just schedule an appointment. And then from there, whether you want to do it online or through phone, you choose. And there's the different categories of if you would like to go more into depth of the type of appointment you'd like to go. And then it will also show you the different time frames that you can meet up with a career counselor. The Career Center will also host different workshops and other opportunities virtually. They will still have their Career Readiness series and their Internship Ready series, and you can always contact them for more information. And so what you do is just go to the Career Center site, go to Student Alumni, attend a workshop, and it says right there. And then you can choose which category you are interested in, and then from there you just scroll down and it gives you information of what it entitles. And then from there, it will also give you the times and the type of conference that they will use and the meeting ID for Zoom. And then they will also give you a schedule for that series of the different types of workshops they would present via online. Another great resource is the Counseling and Psychological Services. They will also be doing everything through video conferencing and phone from Mondays through Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 4:40 p.m. They will still have workshops, groups, consultations, outreach to campus communities. And for groups, what you will have to do is contact their number, provide your name, your student ID, which group you're interested in, which I will go into depth later on, and also your phone number so they can schedule an appointment with you and talk more about the different groups or the groups that you are interested in. So some upcoming groups and workshops that are happening, one group would have to be that I think is a pretty important tool would have to be the Virtually Together workshop. And in that one, what they're basically going to do is basically, despite of like the whole physical distancing, how can a student still stay socially connected to maintain their physical and mental well-being? I actually registered for it just because I just want to go more into depth in how I can help myself, but also my students. And that will be happening Mondays and Wednesdays. Another great workshop that will be happening actually today at 4 p.m. is overcoming procrastination. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I do procrastinate a lot. And, you know, this whole transition might be a bigger challenge, knowing that, you know, I might be distracted with things, knowing that I'm not going to be in a classroom setting and not being able to pay attention. And I feel like, you know, this can serve as a really good opportunity for me to, like, you know, get to know more and different strategies to tackle down procrastination. Next week, they will also have another workshop called Top 10 Tips for Better Stress Management in a Pandemic, as it explains for itself. And that will be happening next week on the 16th. And so how can you attend a workshop? So you just go to their CAP site. There's the group options and the workshop options, and you go there. You scroll down, and then it will show you the different types of workshops they will have. You just register on the one you're interested in, you fill it out, and then you register. And then from there, you will basically get an email from CAPS stating more information regarding the workshop that you registered in, and also they will provide you an invitation to their Zoom meeting. So another thing to consider are the different mentoring programs that we have on campus. The first one would have to be the student mentoring program. This can serve as a big tool for first year undergraduate students through peer-to-peer programs, and in order to transition to this whole virtual online. Another great program would have to be the one I'm working in, and the one I'm presenting for is the LINK program, in which we serve transfer and continuing CSUSB students, and we serve as role models and advocate in order to support our members through peer-to-peer programming, whether it's for academics, professional growth, or even sense of belonging and being engaged on campus. Another great resource that not a lot of students are aware of are the alumni mentoring program. From there, you go on your My Coyote, and it's the tab is there. So basically what this program does is help you connect with other alumni professionals who graduated from the university in any field that you are interested in. And it's a new form of networking and mentoring that allows you as a student and the alumni to grow personally, professionally, and academically. And I've used this before, and I've interacted with students who already graduated from CSUSB who are into counseling, in which I am interested in pursuing in the future. And I, ask for any feedback or any advice, and they do answer. Another important information that I would like to bring out is the laptops and Wi-Fi. The library will still be providing laptops for students through the laptop checkout request form. You just fill out your preferred operating system, whether it's Apple or it can be Windows. You can also select where to pick up the laptop and the times you would like to. And for those who do not have access to Wi-Fi, if you know someone that, you can let them know that it will still be accessible for students throughout the campus region through hotspots. So due to the frame time of providing more resources, is there anything or other resource that anyone would like to share out for the rest of you? If anyone would like to share out.
Another resource could also be like the ASI and the San Manuel Student Union, how they do different events through social media, just to kind of help us stay connected and still interact with one another. And it also helps us kind of for the self-care of moving away from
Okay, well, yeah, again, what whoever spoke, Yeah, ASI will be providing different resources as well. And it's really important to, other great type resources that one can utilize is just your email in general. The university will be providing um, different workshops or any updates of what's going on because of the situation, or even other organizations such as a career center and CAPS, they will also be providing workshops. Like I wouldn't have found out about these workshops that they will be hosting if it wasn't for me looking through my emails. And that can be an important aspect. And I do believe, unfortunately, because of the current situation, I think, this can serve as a really great opportunity for all of us to actually be engaged with the resources our campus has to offer in order for us to navigate through this transition. So due to the ongoing situation of the coronavirus and how that's affecting our communities and how that can affect our personal self, and from there, what are some different support systems that we can utilize in our lives? What are some strategies that we can implement in order to better this transition? And strategies is the last aspect, the last factor in Schlossberg's transition theory. So some questions to consider is, how can one modify to the situation? How can one control the mean with the problem? And how can one cope with stress? What are some strategies you, the student, are using that can impact this transition? And how effective are the current strategies that are using helping you cope within this transition? And these are some questions one can, consider when trying to strategize an outcome. So one thing to recognize is just stress management. At times I do feel a little tensed up knowing that I'm indoors most of the time and I would like to get out, but obviously I just can't. So what are some ways that what I can do? And again, as mentioned before, it can serve as an opportunity to appreciate, spending more time with their families and obviously trying to better themselves. And, meditation can be a really good way to manage your stress. Trying new different hobbies, as someone said. They're trying new activities such as reading, or maybe there's something that you're doing that you enjoy doing, or something that you would like to, or maybe a new hobby that you would like to implement in your life to stay productive. And obviously, being at home means that, you're going to be reduced to like what you used to be engaged in, and how you can still be productive. And whether you do feel stressed out, what are some ways that you can reduce that stress by resting? What are some resting mechanisms that you can use? And as I mentioned before, the different workshops that, for example, CAPS will be hosting can serve as a really good opportunity for us to find different ways to manage our stress. So for the audience, what are some ways are you managing your stress? What are some ways you're keeping yourself care? If anyone would like to answer through the audio or through the group chat.
Actually, one way I've been managing my stress and a little bit of my boredom is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I recently got into meditation because I just had a decent amount of time on my hand. I also felt stressed out, and I felt like I was just cooped up in the house too long.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried meditation, and it's been helping a lot. Just simple breathing techniques, changing your thought process on things can be very beneficial for your health, in my opinion.
I agree. Someone in the group chat mentioned FaceTiming with close friends, even if it's for 10 minutes a day. And again, as I mentioned before, it's always good to recognize the type of support systems that you have in order to, transition better to what's going on now. And obviously, being engaged with the people that are close to you. And someone mentioned, someone still working out and also going out for a run, or working out inside of their rainy days. And those are some things that I'm also doing. Like myself, I really enjoy going to the gym, and, unfortunately, because they're closed down, I do work out at home and try to find ways to, different ways to work out that doesn't essentially mean like the workouts I would normally do at the gym. And these are just ways that we have to accommodate and adjust from the situation. And someone mentioned how the rec center has online workouts, and again, that would serve a really good resource for those who do enjoy working out. And find different ways. I feel like that is a really good resource and that one can implement. Playing games with families is also another great one. Cuddling with puppies, yes, I would agree too. I also have a dog of my own. um, I feel like spending more time with him, it just kind of like alleviates like the tension and just being around him. And I feel like for many, like, whether it's a dog or even a family member or a friend, this can serve as great stress mechanisms in order to overcome it. So what can we do as college students? Primarily just organize, knowing that we're barely in the first week, the whole trial and error, seeing what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And like, for example, me, like, or like for many of us, we're not comfortable. We don't like the whole online classes because, it limits us, or we say like it limits us from actually getting the full learning experience. But we have to try to adjust to it and, making sure that we don't have distractors. And that's another thing we have to recognize, making sure we don't have anything that's distracting us from our learning. And another thing to like consider for the online classes is what type of online classes will you is your professor presenting lectures, whether the student has to attend the live lecture or not, whether the student and the professor has to meet up at a certain time to do these online lectures, or if it's just no lecture and is just through like Blackboard and just doing assignments there. So it's always good to recognize how our professors are going by, and if you don't know, it's always good to contact them as well. Another great way to organize is just set agendas and planners. For example, me, like every now and then I do struggle with organizing and keeping up to date on what I have to do, and knowing that this whole online transition makes me more independent into doing things more on my own. So it's going to be more of a challenge. And so, being able to plan ahead so I can like, achieve like academically at the end of this quarter. Some tools that you can use is one, GroupMe. Many of us as students, we have GroupMe's for our classrooms, and it's always good to like, yes, it's understandable we do ignore because, sometimes, the whole spamming, but every now and then it's always good to check. Maybe there's something a student brings up that you did not know that might be useful for you, or even interacting with them to, study together. Emails, again, I can't stress this enough. The university, your professors, or other resources will be posting updates or any ways that they can provide help and support for you during this time. Again, just play around with Blackboard and to see how your professor is managing the online classes, and try to be familiar with it like during this first week before it gets more intense. And another great tool would have to be Zoom. Many organizations are doing their workshops and presentations through Zoom, such as mine, or even you can use Zoom as a way of studying. Maybe you and a couple of classmates from GroupMe want to do study sessions, and you can use Zoom to create these study sessions as well. So what are other strategies are you implementing in your life that is keeping you occupied and productive, if anyone would like to share? Or that you can put it on the group chat as well.
I'd like to add, I've taken a lot of online classes for the people who are kind of stressed out about how it goes. Like I've taken almost probably like 20 online classes through Cal State, and it really is, like, I know it's really hard to transition to it, but you will still learn more than you think you will. And it's hard to get used to at first, but I'm sure that everyone will be able to. So I just wanted to offer that encouragement in case some people are it's their first time doing online classes. Yeah, so I've had a lot of great experiences with it. And other strategies that I've added, so I've gone back into reading because I haven't been reading as much. So I'll do work and then I'll read a little bit. And it's kind of helped me. Like you can block your mind out thinking about things that make you anxious and just focus on reading. So that's helped for me.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like everyone will overcome this, and I do believe that, if we do utilize our resources and, being engaged with people in our support systems, it can help us, adjust to this whole transition. Like how you said, like, you can also, like, you can serve as a really good help for those people who are struggling, and let's say I do struggle in like this whole transition, I can go reach out to you and what are some ways that I can adjust better. So I really do appreciate. So in summary, overall, the Schlossberg transition model, like how can that correlate to like what's going on with the current situation, whether it's what we're going through right now, or is it something that we can implement in the future if we are going through a struggle in our lives, and how can we transition to it? And I do believe this transition model can serve as like a foundation to like, find solutions and find ways to actually adjust to it. So again, as I would like to mention, the situation right now that we're going through is the whole coronavirus and how that is affecting our communities and how it's affecting our personal or academic and career pursuits. And because of the situation at hand, how is it affecting ourselves? How is it affecting how we go by our day? And then from there, what are some support systems that we can use in order to better transition into this new, so to say, life? And then from there, what are some strategies that we can tackle down, some tactics that we can use to better our conversion? And I really do like these 4 steps. If you are struggling, whether it is during this transition of going online or something in the future to consider, okay, like finding the root of why it's happening, why am I struggling, and how is it affecting yourself, and what are some ways that you can alleviate it and find different support systems that can help you, that can guide you towards like different strategies in order to overcome this. And so I really do thank for everyone who did attend this meeting, and I really do hope that this served as a great resource for you all. And yeah, thank you so much for everything.
I'm gonna give you a clap through the.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Great job,
Thank you,
Andres.
Andres.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Does anyone have
Thank
any
you.
questions that they would like to share, or maybe some inputs that they would like to share as well?
I think change just makes people nervous because, like, for me, I'm used to a routine, and so change like can make you nervous. But I think it's about finding good things with that change. So, okay, maybe I can't be on campus as much, but maybe I'm able to balance my time better. I'm able to focus on other things. So that can kind of be a struggle, is adjusting to that change when you've been so used to doing things a certain way.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And again, it's kind of like what I mentioned before on like the first aspect in the model of like the whole situation, and how I mentioned, previous experience. Not many of us do have an experience whether we have to be in quarantine because of the current situation. And obviously that can affect, whether or not how we manage things because we're not familiar with it. But I do believe that, we can overcome this as long as, we stick together, the whole unity aspect, and try to find ways to actually accommodate with this. But yeah, I really do agree that I do, like, people are worried from the current situation and transitioning to this. But I do think that as long as we're like on top of our things and finding different ways to like transition better, I think it can help us as well. Thank you for sharing out. Anyone else? Well, okay, well, do you know if the PAC is doing virtual meetings? I would have to like look at that, but I would also suggest you like going to their site as well and to see if they're doing virtual meetings. So like, yeah, I'll probably like look more into that as well, but I'm pretty sure they should be doing something virtually for those students as well that need that support system. And so yeah, I would encourage you as well to like, reach out to them as well.
Yeah, they are.
They are?
Evelyn emailed me about that.
Okay, well, yeah.
I can email it to you, and then you can email it to her if you want.
Sounds good. All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Cheyenne.
You're welcome.
Anything else before I let everyone go? Well, okay, so I really do appreciate everyone joining and taking some time for this presentation. I do hope everyone has a great day, and I hope this served as a great tool for you to utilize in your lives, whether it's right now or something in the future that you can possibly go through. And if you would like to follow these different steps, what the situation is going on, and then from there, how it affects yourself, and what are some different support systems that you can utilize, and then from there, how to tackle the situation at hand. And I really do hope everyone has a safe and great spring quarter and that everything works out perfectly fine. And stay safe, everyone. And thank you so much.